My name is Hannah. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I work night shifts at the hospital, so I sleep when the world is loud and wake when it's quiet. The dark is my time. I've grown used to it. I even like it most nights, but not tonight. Tonight, the dark feels different. There's blood on my shoe. I don't know how it got there. It's not mine. I'm not hurt. I checked 3 times. It's not Max's either. He's safe, asleep in the living room, his small chest moving slow under the soft light. The blood is dry now, brown, cracked like the sidewalk behind Jake's house. I sit in the kitchen. It's 3:47 a.m. The whole place is quiet, too quiet. The air feels like it's waiting for something. I hold a glass of water, but I don't drink it. My hands shake a little. I don't know why. 2 hours ago, I opened the drawer in the back room, the one Jake always locked. It wasn't locked tonight. Inside, there was a folder. Black, thick, heavy paper. Inside were names, photos, receipts, a silver chain with a name I didn't know. One picture had my face on it. And under my photo, "Do not lose control." I read it 5 times. My hands went cold. That's when Max started barking. Jake still wasn't home. I've never felt scared in my own kitchen before, but I do now. I feel like someone is watching, even when I check the window and see nothing. Even when the doors are locked. I should leave, but where would I go? It's almost 4 in the morning. My car's still at the clinic. Jake drove me home last night. I want to believe I'm overthinking. I want to believe Jake is still the man who brought me sunflowers after my bad shift. But then I look at the folder again, at the list, at my face inside it, and I know something is very, very wrong. Jake came into my life on a cold Thursday night. I was sitting alone in the break room, eating soup from a paper cup. He walked in with 2 other officers talking about a car crash. He looked tired, but he smiled at me. He asked if I was okay. I said, "Long night." He said, "Same here." He came back the next night, then the next. He always had a reason someone got hurt, a call from the street. But after a week, I knew he didn't come for work. He came for me. One night, he brought me coffee, just how I like it. Not too sweet, not too hot. He sat with me while I ate. He told me funny stories. I laughed more in that half hour than I had in a whole month. Jake was easy to talk to. I told him about my parents, the accident, how I lived alone now, near the train line. I told him about the night shifts, how they made my chest feel heavy sometimes. He listened, really listened. Then he looked at me and said, "You carry too much. You need someone to help." I felt seen. 2 weeks later, he asked me out. We drove to Asheville on a Sunday. It was cold, but the sky was clear. We sat by a lake and shared fries. He wrapped a scarf around my neck when the wind picked up. His hands were warm. He kissed me before we got back in the car. The next day, I told a nurse at work. She smiled and said, "You got a good one, girl." After 6 weeks, Jake said, "Come live with me. You shouldn't be alone all the time." I waited one day before saying yes. His house was small but sweet, outside of Concord, with a red mailbox and a dog named Max. There was a tree in the back with a swing. He had made it himself. At night, we sat on the floor, eating frozen pizza, watching old movies. He held my hand like he didn't want to let go. I looked at him, and I thought, this is it. This is what safe feels like. But now, I'm not so sure. Moving in with Jake felt like starting a new book, a clean page. His house sat just off a quiet road in Concord. 1 floor, 2 rooms, 1 big backyard. The first thing I saw was a swing tied to a tall tree. The wood looked old, but the rope was strong. He had built it for his sister's kids. They used to visit, he said, but not anymore. Inside, the place smelled like coffee and lemon soap. Max ran up to me with his tail wagging. Jake said Max would love me. He was right. I left my apartment in Charlotte without much. Just a suitcase, some photos, and my scrubs. Jake told me to leave the rest. You don't need to carry your old life here, he said. The first few weeks were quiet, calm. Jake worked days, I worked nights. But we always had dinner together before I left. Sometimes he cooked, sometimes I did. He liked my grilled cheese. I liked the way he always said, drive safe, like it mattered. He started saying, you don't have to work, you know. I make enough for us both. But I told him I liked my job. I liked helping people. He nodded, but something in his eyes changed, just for a second. The next week, he came home with a new oven. You can bake now, he said with a smile. He wanted me home more. I started taking fewer shifts, just a couple a week. He said, you look tired. Rest is good for you. And I wanted to believe he was right. I did feel tired, but maybe not in the way he thought. Sometimes, when I walked out into the yard, I'd feel like I left a part of myself behind, like some small voice inside me was getting quieter. But I pushed the thought away. Love takes time. Love means change. I told myself, this is what happy is supposed to look like. And I tried to believe it. The first time I saw Jake mad, it was over something small. I left the back door open. Max had run outside. I called him back in right away. Nothing happened. But Jake stared at me for a long time. He didn't yell. He just said, you need to be more careful. His voice was flat, cold, not like him. After that, he started locking the doors himself. He began checking things twice, even if I already did. He didn't say much about it, but the message was clear. I couldn't be trusted. Then came the rules. No shoes in the house, no phone calls after 8 p.m., no friends over without asking first. It's just better this way, he said. One night, I was on a call with my old coworker, Jen. We were laughing about something at the hospital. Jake walked in, looked at me, then left without a word. That night, he didn't eat dinner, didn't touch his plate. I asked if something was wrong. He said, why do you need to talk to other people so much? I'm right here. After that, I didn't call Jen again. He started asking questions. Where were you today? Who did you see? Why didn't you answer my text? He always smiled when he asked, but it wasn't the same smile from before. And I started answering like it was normal. I told myself, he just cares. He wants me safe. But deep down, I felt something else. A quiet fear. A slow, steady pressure. I used to leave notes for him on the fridge. Now, I check his face before I speak. I used to dance in the kitchen when I cooked. Now, I try not to make noise. And sometimes, late at night, I look at the swing in the yard. It still moves when the wind comes through. I wonder if it remembers how to carry joy, because I think I forgot. It started with a call from the hospital. I was getting ready to go in for a short shift. My name had been taken off the board. I called the office. A woman said my status was under review. She couldn't say more. I stood in the kitchen, holding the phone, not sure what to feel. When Jake came home, I told him right away. He didn't look surprised. He said, maybe it's time to stop working. Maybe they saw you weren't really focused there. I looked at him. What do you mean? I asked. He shrugged. You've been tired. You said that yourself. I hadn't said that. Not in those words. I asked if he thought someone said something about me. He didn't answer. That night, I lay in bed, wide awake. I kept thinking about a patient I cared for last week. A small boy with a broken arm. I checked every step. I was careful. I always was. The next morning, I called Jen. She used to be in charge of records. She picked up, surprised. Hannah, are you okay? I asked if she heard anything. She paused. I'm not supposed to say, she whispered, but someone said you gave the wrong meds. But I checked that case. It wasn't true. My stomach dropped. I asked, who said it? She paused again. I can't be sure, but it was someone outside staff, a man. I hung up and walked outside. The sky was gray. The swing in the yard moved again. I sat on the back step and stared at the trees. My hands shook. Jake had asked what room I was in that night, what I gave that boy. I had told him. I thought he was just asking, just curious. Now, I wasn't so sure. I looked down at my feet. Max came and sat beside me. I reached out and held his paw. I felt the weight of something I couldn't name. Something was being built around me, and I hadn't seen it until now. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, watching the clock change. 1:12 a.m., then 2:35, then 3:08. Jake was in bed. Max curled at my feet. My chest felt tight, like something heavy was sitting on it. I walked into the kitchen and sat on the floor. Cold tile, quiet house. My mind wouldn't stop. What if Jake really did that? What if he wanted me to lose the job? I thought about calling Jen again, but I knew it was late. So I just sat there, alone, staring at the dark. And maybe, if you're still here, listening with me, I hope you're taking care of your heart, not just your body. your heart, because the quiet can hurt too. If this story means something to you, just type 7 in the comments. It helps me feel less alone too. Around 4, I stood up and opened the fridge. I wasn't hungry, just needed something to do. Then I saw the drawer, the one in the back room. Jake always kept it locked, but that night it wasn't. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I needed proof. Maybe I just wanted answers. Inside was a folder, thick, heavy. I pulled it out and opened it on the floor. There were papers, some with my name, a note with my old hospital ID, a photo of me outside the clinic, and something else. A list. 10 names. Mine was number 9. Next to it, close watch, remove ties. I stopped breathing. For a full 5 seconds, I couldn't move. Who wrote this? Why was my name here? Then Max barked. Once, short, sharp, like a warning. I closed the folder and put it back, but nothing would feel the same again. The next morning, I packed a small bag, just a few clothes, my phone, and Max's leash. I waited until Jake left for work. Then I walked to the gas station near the highway and called a cab. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to go. I called Jen again. She picked up on the first ring. "Can I stay with you?" I asked. My voice shook. She said, "Yes, come now." She lived in a small house in Durham. It took 2 hours to get there. I sat in the back seat with Max on my lap. My hands would not stop shaking. Jen opened the door and pulled me into a hug. I started crying. Not loud, just soft and slow. "I'm sorry," I said. She said, "Don't be. You're safe now." That night, I told her everything. The folder, the names, the photo, the list. She didn't ask why I stayed so long. She just listened. She gave me a room with clean sheets and a warm blanket. Max slept beside me. I didn't sleep much, but I didn't feel afraid for the first time in weeks. In the morning, Jen made coffee. She said, "You need to tell someone with real power." I nodded. I wasn't ready yet, but I knew she was right. We drove past my old hospital. I watched the windows and remembered the days I stood behind them, helping people, feeling useful. Now I was the one who needed help. Something inside me broke, but something else had just started to wake up. I wasn't a victim. Not forever. Not anymore. I stayed with Jen for 3 days before I left the house. Each day, I sat near the window with Max on my lap. I watched the street like it might bring something I didn't want to see. I didn't tell Jen, but every sound made me jump. A door, a car, a phone ring. On day 4, I went to the police station, not the one where Jake worked, a different one in downtown Durham. I asked to speak to a woman officer. Her name was Kelly. She had kind eyes and didn't look away when I told her what I saw. She wrote everything down. She asked questions. She said it might take time, but they would look into it. I asked her if I could get a copy of my report. She said yes. For the first time in a long time, I felt heard. That night, I walked Max around the block. The air was cool. I looked up at the sky. There were no stars, but the clouds moved slow. It felt like the world was breathing again. Back at Jen's, she made tea. She asked, "What now?" I told her I wanted to work again. Maybe not in a hospital, maybe a clinic, something small, something real. She smiled. "You still have that light. You just forgot how to use it." We made a list the next morning. Jobs, apartments, things I needed, things I still had. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I didn't hear from Jake. Not the first week. Not the second. I kept my phone off at night. I locked the door. I watched for strange cars. But the silence was a gift. I wasn't used to peace, but I wanted to be. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from the hospital. They had cleared my name. The report was false. The meds were right. The boy was fine, and I could come back if I wanted to. I sat on the floor with the letter in my hands. Max put his head on my knee. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just sat there, breathing. It felt like getting a piece of myself back. I called Jen. I said, "They want me back." She said, "Do you want to go?" I didn't answer right away. I wanted to work. I wanted to help again, but not there, not in that city, not near Jake. I looked at my list. Durham had a small clinic. I called and asked if they were hiring. A woman picked up. Her name was Sarah. She said, "We always need hands. Come in Monday." That weekend, I found a cheap apartment, small kitchen, old windows. It smelled like dust and lemons, but it was mine. I bought a used car with the last of my savings. I named it Blue. The color didn't matter. The name just felt right. The clinic job paid less, but it felt better. The people were kind. The days were short. The work was real. I helped an old man with his pills. I held a crying girl's hand. I made coffee for the front desk on rainy days. Every night, I walked Max under the streetlight. I stopped looking behind me. One night, I looked in the mirror and didn't see the girl who whispered yes to someone too fast. I saw a woman who had walked away. She looked tired, but she looked free. I don't know if Jake ever came looking for me. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I stopped checking. One morning, I found a letter in my mailbox. No name, just a white envelope. Inside was a photo, a picture of me walking Max near my new place. On the back, it said, "You're doing fine. Keep going." I didn't tell anyone. I burned the photo in the sink. I watched the paper curl. I watched the fire eat my face. Then I ran cold water over the ashes and let them go. After that, the days felt lighter. I painted the walls of my new kitchen a soft yellow. I bought a second pillow. I planted flowers in an old coffee can. Little things, one step at a time. Sometimes I still wake up at night, my heart racing, my ears wide open. But when I look around, it's always the same. Just Max at the foot of the bed. Just peace. I started reading again. I made a list of 10 books I want to finish. I'm on book 3 now, and this morning, for the first time in a long time, I made pancakes just for me. No one else. I sat at the table and ate slow. I didn't rush. I didn't look at my phone. I didn't think about yesterday. I thought about now. I'm not where I thought I'd be at 28, but maybe that's okay, because I'm here. I'm safe, and I'm free, and maybe, just maybe, this is what real love feels like. Not from someone else, but from me. Sometimes, the people who say they love you are the ones who make you feel small. They use kind words like soft hands, but those hands start to close around your life. They take little things first. Your time, your job, your voice. Then, one day, you wake up and can't find yourself anymore. This story is not just about fear. It's about the quiet ways control can look like care. About how easy it is to believe someone when they say, "You don't need anyone else, just me." But love should not feel like a trap. It should not make you afraid to speak or smile or be alone. Real care makes you stronger. It helps you grow. It doesn't ask you to leave your life behind. It walks beside you while you build more. And when that care is missing, when the days feel heavy and your voice gets smaller, it's not weakness to leave. It's not shameful to start again. It takes more than strength. It takes hope. And that's something no one should ever take from you. Maybe you've been quiet for too long. Maybe you've smiled when you wanted to cry. Maybe you've said, "I'm fine," when your whole body was tired of holding the weight. It's easy to think, this is just how life is. But what if it's not? What if you were never meant to live like that? You don't need a big moment to start again. Sometimes it begins with something small like walking the dog, calling a friend, or eating pancakes at your own table. That's how you come back to yourself. And if this story felt like you're 7 just a little maybe, it's time to listen to that quiet voice inside. The one that says, "You matter, you're still here, you still can." If someone you know might need to hear this too, send it to them. Not just because it could help, but because sometimes a simple story can be the thing that opens a door. And if they smile even for a second, they'll be thankful, and so will you. If you liked the story, comment number 7. If you think the story could be better, comment number 8. We are always here, working hard to bring you the best stories. Thank you for watching, our dear friends. Your support means everything to us. See you in the next story.